Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, I would say that Aljamain Sterling is here at it again, okay? But in reality, he has never not been at it. Ever since his loss to Sean O'Malley, he has shown unbelievable amounts of salt and copium, okay? But also unbelievable amounts of self-victimization, and he does so here in this video, which is a reaction to the clip that was put out by the UFC in order to promote the documentary that is now on Roku TV, okay, inside the UFC or something like that. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to play that clip for you that Aljamain Sterling is actually reacting to, and then we are going to react to Aljamain Sterling reacting to a clip, which is just unbelievable amounts of reaction inception. But regardless, dude, I'll play that clip for you right now.
So we make the fight, Aljo versus O'Malley, but when he goes out in the public, he just says all the wrong things.
I still have injuries that I'm still nursing to this day.
I announce a fight, and then the first thing Aljo says is, well, if my body holds up. So now you have fans going, should I buy tickets to Boston and a plane ticket and get a room? Because this guy might not show up. You're either in the fight or you're not in the fight.
I'm gonna fight, even though it's literally against my will.
I got a call that Aljo sounds like he doesn't really want to fight. Aljo's one of those guys who just can't get out of his own way.
I just want you and I to be on the same page, which is you don't want to fight Aljo. You don't have to fight. I'm not forcing you to fight. So you got to decide what you want to do. And whatever you decide, I'm cool with.
So I guess where I sit is it kind of puts me in a bad light where it's like, this guy can't get out of his own way and he kind of ruining things. I'm like, I don't get that thought process of doing that to someone who's always done whatever was asked for him to do.
But I can tell you, you're at your fucking peak. You've looked incredible. And it's just this opportunity for you to take his audience that he has built in and introduce you to them. But instead of using the platform and the increased media coverage, it's almost like you're working against it.
I see your point 100%. I just still feel, like you said, the communication out of the gate was kind of like, it was a little blindsided. You know what I mean? Like I literally just fought and Dana made the fight right then and there. I know it's a big opportunity. My only thing, like I said, from the very beginning was, damn, I just wish we had a conversation. That was it.
All right, my man.
All right, now what I want to do is go over Aljamain Sterling's reaction to that clip, okay? Because in this clip, the amount of self-victimization is absolutely unbelievable. The amount of salt, the amount of cope that he sprinkles in there, okay, the secret ingredients, and then also, dude, some of the things he says are just flat out stupid and dumb, and I would like to rebut them a little bit because Christ almighty, dude, when Dana White said Aljamain Sterling cannot get out of his own way, I truly believe this is more what he was talking about rather than actually raising the issue that he might be injured going into that Sean O'Malley fight. It's his public relations and how he handles things publicly, okay? And we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to start this video right away. I'm actually going to speed it up a bit so we don't take too long. I'm not going to have it at 1.75. That will be too fast. We'll go 1.5 speed. We're going to start right away. 14 seconds into the clip, because here is the first self-victimization that Aljamain Sterling commits off the bat, okay?
I wasn't really excited to see that clip again because I had to relive all those emotions again. Kind of riled me up a little.
Right away, okay? Right away. We are 24 seconds in this video. He started that statement at 15 seconds in this video. Aljamain Sterling acting as though this was some horrible, traumatic event that he has to relive, which was a discussion with one of the guys in charge of the company that he fights for. Okay, that's what he's talking about here. There were no threats made. There were no acts of violence. There were none of that. But Aljamain Sterling is acting as though this was some horrible, traumatic experience. And him watching that clip actually made him upset because he had to relive all of those horrible emotions that he was going through at the time, which are, in my opinion, dude, just completely and totally put on all by himself. Like, there was a very simple solution to this entire thing, okay, which I will get to in a little bit here, that could have happened, and Aljamain Sterling would probably still be bitching about whatever the fuck happened after that. But regardless, dude, let's continue.
A little bit, because it really did piss me off in that moment of time back then, just how everything kind of unfolded. Because if you look at the series of events, I just fought, I had a really hard training camp to make that weight cut. I fought one of the greatest combat athletes of all time in Henry Cejudo. People can say whatever they want about his layoff, whatever. Still one of the best guys to ever step in there. 5 rounds, hard fight, and then the night of the fight, you know, and this is just the series of events. They don't make fights the night of the fight, but somehow, for whatever reason, my fight in particular just happened to be made that night.
Okay. So, as I said in the opening, unbelievable amounts of self-victimization, but also now we're 1:10 in, okay? Aljamain Sterling is seriously clinging on that whole Dana White says we don't make fights the night of the fight. Now, yes, Dana White does say that an awful lot. That is typically his way of shutting down a reporter that knows he doesn't answer questions, for the most part, about future fights immediately after a pay-per-view when they haven't even had a chance to talk to the people involved who would be next, okay? However, dude, that is not a fucking rule. There's no law written down. The UFC doesn't have that in writing that they will never ever do this, okay? So yeah, typically they don't do it. However, when we've got a pay-per-view coming up in by 15 weeks, in over 3 months, okay, that we need a main event for, and you are right here and you just fought, and we know who you're fighting next, why not announce it? Like, he's really clinging on to this whole Dana White saying that, which he does say an awful lot. But it's not a set in stone rule. And again, they needed a main event for the pay-per-view in 3 months. Aljamain Sterling had just fought. On the surface, at the very least, made it out of there pretty unscathed. Neither him nor Henry Cejudo were overly damaged. At the very least, appeared overly damaged, okay? But, you know, he's really fucking clinging on to that. So we're going to jump ahead now, just about 30 seconds or so, to 141 of this video. And I'll let it play from there for a little bit.
It's hard for people to hate on someone that, it should be hard for people to hate on someone who speaks the truth. You know,
Okay, dude. Immediately. This is some weird shit. Aljamain Sterling has this like crazy sense of entitlement that he should be liked because he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. He doesn't think there's legitimate reasons for fans not to like him. It should be hard to hate someone who tells the truth. You do not get to decide who the fans gravitate towards and who they don't, whose attitudes they like and whose they don't, whose personalities they like and whose they don't, and, you know, maybe the way you won the belt and things like that. But it's just an odd sense of entitlement that I'm sensing from Aljamain Sterling here, where he's like, well, it should be hard to hate someone that just tells the truth. First of all, that's not entirely what you do. And secondly, you don't get to decide that, dude. Not everybody's meant to like it. It's wild to me, but I'll let it continue.
I'm not speaking no one else's truth. I'm not trying to sway the fans in any one way. I just give the facts and let people make their own decision based on that. And with that said, from that night, I said, I don't know what he's talking about. I have no desire to fight right now. And that was the whole thing I was saying. I have to heal up to see how my body holds up.
All right, so, you know, as I said, the sense of entitlement, but then also, like, you don't just say facts and then that's it. You are obviously, he says he's not trying to sway the fans or anything like that, but obviously you are including your own biases, whether you're choosing to, like, consciously or not, right? It could just be subconsciously, but also your facts are delivered in the form of your narrative, okay, in order to counteract the narrative that fans put out, the narrative that the UFC puts out, and what have you. And look, man, you don't need to take the UFC's word at face value. You don't need to believe them wholeheartedly, but you probably shouldn't do the same for a guy like Aljamain Sterling, who isn't just giving you an objective statement. He is telling you how he feels about it. That's one. He's also telling you it's his version of events, dude. Both sides of this equation are going to try and make themselves look as good as possible. Obviously, this is always the case when it comes to PR, okay? But like Dana White said, man, you can't get out of your own way. And it's very apparent to me. And I think he meant something very specific about that, but I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to about 250. We'll start right here. 257 of this video. I'll let it play some more.
I didn't feel that night in August. No excuses. Once again, no excuses. The better man that night won. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I don't want to keep talking about this. People keep bringing it up. I did a great job the last few weeks.
I don't want to keep talking about this, but people keep bringing it up. My guy, you don't have to talk about it because somebody else brings it up. The vast majority, if you go look at this dude's Twitter and you scroll down for as long as I could count, it's him retweeting or reposting or whatever. I don't know. Randoms on Twitter. Just because somebody talks about this doesn't mean you have to. Do you know what I mean? This is why I'm saying earlier in the clip that we just watched, you're not just giving us facts. You are delivering those facts in the form of a narrative, which is why you feel the need to constantly rebut anything anybody says about it, because you want to make sure that your narrative stays out there. You shouldn't give a fuck what these people think on Twitter. I don't understand why you were going back and forth with them. If you don't want to talk about it, my guy, don't talk about it, okay? Just don't. It's very, very simple.
Not even talking about Sean O'Malley one time. And then somehow, some way, this...
I'm going to go back. This is a wild statement, okay?
Excuses. The better man that night won. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I don't want to keep talking about this. People keep bringing it up. I did a great job the last few weeks, not even talking about Sean O'Malley one time.
Bro, okay, listen. I know he's kind of laughing as he says that. And like, if you are consciously thinking about in your own head, when the last time you spoke about a particular person, dude, that person is rent fucking free in your head. If you know, I haven't talked about this person for almost 3 weeks, I was doing such a good job. That is like your counselor told you to fucking let it go type shit, and you can't. Right? That should not, I don't know when the fuck last time I talked about Sean O'Malley. That's what your answer should always be. Bro, he's rent-free in your head. That situation is rent-free in your head, and you are letting it take a hold of you. It's insane to me. I don't understand how you could say that and be like, yeah, I don't want to keep talking about it. Holy shit, Aljo.
And then somehow, some way, this video surfaces, the UFC's put it out, and people are now tagging me, and I'm just like, I just want to enjoy my social media without having to talk about this again, please. So again, this is ad nauseum at this point. You know, I'm not trying to whine about it or anything. I think facts are the facts. O'Malley,
bro, that's all you do is fucking whine about it. If you want to just enjoy social media, Aljo, one, don't respond to these people, because this is how, like, algorithms work, dude. If you are focusing on this shit, looking at this shit, irritated by this shit, and engaging with it, Twitter's going to show you more of it, okay? Also, dude, there's a mute function, there's a block function. Use them. Use them. If you cannot handle seeing other people's opinions on Twitter about you, okay? Use the functions that are available to you, the tools that Twitter has there to help these sort of things, Aljo. I'm sure your counselors told you this by now. Why the fuck aren't you listening? This is insane to me. Dude, insane. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here to about 4 minutes in this video. This is a bit of a longer clip, so I'll probably just pause it as we go.
It got beaten down, and I don't think people understand what it's like to be in that hot seat with the pressure. And, you know, I'm not trying to bash my bosses, these guys who pay my check, cut my check for me and whatnot. I like those guys. I do think from a business standpoint, they prefer A over B, and there's nothing wrong with that. I completely get the business side of things, and it's not their fault that it's harder to market me over a guy who has tattoos on his face and colors his hair, all kinds of crazy colors. I think kids are into that. I think some adults are
okay, I think kids are into that, and I think some adults are into that. Sorry, I paused it a little early there. Dude, this is cope and salt but he's, as I said, dude, he's delivering it and trying to act as though it's not. It's like he fucking doused your food in soy sauce and then was like, what are you talking about? That's not salty. Do you know what I mean? It's insane to me. Bro, it's not their fault that I'm harder to market, and then goes on and takes a, you know, it's like a little, like, subliminal diss about the face tattoos and the colorful hair and shit like that. Aljo, it's not that, dude. It's not that. Okay, first of all, his fighting style is much more exciting, and I'm sure that he's going to touch on this at some point in this clip. But like what Dana White said, man, he cannot get out of his own way. This is not, in my opinion, in regards to him expressing that he might be injured for the fight. It's that he did so publicly. Okay, do you have no public relations sense whatsoever? Even if you were asked about, oh, are you going to be able to take the fight? Say yes in the public, dude. Talk about the injuries and shit behind the scenes privately with Dana White and Hunter. Don't just express that shit immediately right after Dana White says, yeah, that's the fight we want to make. Okay? Don't go and then tell the whole world, no, it's not. Because I'm not feeling too good. I don't know that I want to fight in over 3 fucking months. Okay? It's not like he was turning around in 2 months, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. 15 weeks we're talking about here. Okay? But he could have done this all privately. And guess what, dude? The fans would probably hate him a lot less, because it's like a constant thing with Aljamain Sterling. We have the issues, or, you know, a lot of fans have an issue with the way that he won the belt, obviously. The way that he acted after the fact with said belt. Okay? The fact that the fight between him and Petr Yan, the second fight, was very, very close, and a lot of people think Petr Yan should have won that fight. And then the way that he won, like, after, and then the way that he acts and gets entitled and shit about fans' opinions on his victories, on the way he won, on all this shit, okay? He cannot get out of his own way. This whole shit with you being injured, okay, could have been spoken about privately with Dana White and Hunter Cambell, not right in the public's eye, okay? And it would have probably been a lot better. And that's what I think Dana White means by Aljamain Sterling can't get out of his own way. Do you know what I mean? Like, chill, bro. Chill.
into that. And he's a popular guy, so there's nothing wrong with that. So from a business perspective, I get that 100%. I'm not going to go try to reinvent the wheel and become a completely different fighter overnight. It's just not something I want to do and not something I'm into at this point in time in my career, you know? So with that said, I get the push from them and trying to get me into that fight. And the only thing I say I regret is if I knew the pay-per-view numbers were going to be what it was, I would have just sat until January, February, March and waited to fight. That's the only...
Okay, this part is important right here, okay? Because he says, if I knew the pay-per-view numbers would have been what they were, I would have just sat and waited until January, February, March to fight again, okay? This is important for something that he goes on to say a little bit later. But, again, constantly taking shots at Sean O'Malley, even when he's trying to act like he's just laying out facts. Oh, the pay-per-view wasn't as big, blah, 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 whatever. Bro, you didn't need to take this fight. You didn't. And I'm sick of people acting like this guy's a fucking baby. Okay, stop infantilizing him. Hunter Cambell did his job. He tried to convince Aljamain Sterling, dude, you're fine. You look fantastic. All this shit, whatever. You are an adult at the end of the day. You make your own decisions at the end of the day. And the only, again, Aljamain Sterling not being able to get out of his own fucking way, all that would have happened, dude, you wouldn't have been stripped. There would have been an interim title in the meantime. Call it bullshit, whatever the fuck you want. Probably would have helped those pay-per-view numbers, okay, to have a unification belt with Sean O'Malley, who went and won a belt without being in a fight with you. And then that's all that had to happen, okay? And then, like he says, I would have waited till January, February, March. As I said, that is an important detail that I will talk about a little bit later when he covers it again.
Only thing I regret, because I felt like it was the opportunity of a lifetime. After saying no, being coerced into doing it, no one put a gun to my head.
Being coerced into doing it, but no one put a gun to my head. Just has to, bro, get fucking real. Coerced. There was no threat of a consequence. There was no nothing like that, okay? If this was coercion, it was the babiest form of it. Point blank, period. And Aljamain Sterling folded like a fucking paper plane, okay?
I eventually succumbed to the pressure and said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And after this, I'm going on my vacation. And I said, win or lose, I'm going on my vacation. And the matchmakers, the bosses, the brass, they told me, sure, you can do whatever the hell you want after this fight. I said, okay, thank you. And that's where I went to Sydney, Australia, went to Bali for 2 weeks.
Win or lose, I'm going on my vacation. So you didn't want to fight. You didn't want to defend your title because you wanted to go on vacation. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude. The entitlement. And then for you to know that they need a main event for that pay-per-view and then to be so upset at the thought that they would do an interim title, it literally would have fucking helped you in the long run. If what you're complaining about now is money, you should have just said no. Let them done the interim title with Sean and fucking whoever they were going to do it with. And that's that, dude. So simple.
Went to Wales, went to London. We went all over the place, you know? So I was blessed in that regard. Like, yeah, I might have lost my blessings in losing the belt, but I did what I need to do at the division. You know what I mean? At 135, I already became the man. I was the man for quite some time. I know it wasn't the best way to have won the belt. And unfortunately, it wasn't my actions that caused me to win the belt. I know people might say I was acting. If you're still beating that dead horse, man, something is seriously wrong with you. Seriously wrong.
Bro, you're still beating that dead horse. Fucking let it go. Stop bringing it up. This guy is unhinged, okay? First of all, no, it wasn't your actions that caused the foul to happen, but if you're going to try and sit here straight-faced, look at a camera, bro, the only person you're trying to convince at this point, Aljamain Sterling, is yourself. You 100% played that shit up. There is no question about it. I have never seen somebody act the way that you acted, okay, because of a concussion, right? We have seen Ben Askren get flatline KO'd, stiff as a board, and get up and walk out of the fucking arena. You were flopping on the ground longer than it took for him to get up. It's ridiculous, okay? It's ridiculous. Dude, Aljamain Sterling at one point looked like he had salt in his eyes, okay? Which is just, it was foreshadowing. It was foreshadowing the amount of salt that was going to come out of him later on in life. But bro, this is what I'm talking about. He feels like every single person alive should think the exact same way he does about that series of events. You played it up, that's it. And then he's going to go on to talk about how he absolutely had a concussion. Fine, maybe you fucking did. But do you not think it was because of maybe the 3 rounds of a beatdown that you took right before that, or what, dude? You think that one strike in that fight, that one and only strike, not that you got dumped on your head a couple times, not that you got the shit beaten out of you for at least the last 2 rounds of that fight, okay? Last 2.5, whatever it was. It was that one single illegal strike that caused all the damage on you that night. Like, it's unbelievable to me.
You can't throw up. Go to the hospital, forget the majority of the night after the fight, and tell me that I didn't have a concussion. A pretty bad one. So, with that said, I don't think I need to defend myself on that anymore. I'm not trying to go down that route. What I'm saying is, you know, I didn't win the belt the way I wanted.
I'm not trying to go down that route, but I just did. I'll fucking pop a U-turn, I guess. We'll get back to what we're supposed to be talking about, okay? Jesus Christ.
I got a lot of flack. And when I got the flag for people thinking I'm making shit up and acting, I said, okay, I'm going to run with it. I'm going to be the heel. I became the heel, ran with it all the way until the Jan rematch. Had to get neck surgery. I was out for a while. And if you look at my resume, man, I've been one of the most active guys before the belt. And then when I got the belt, I was probably one of the more active champions ever. So again, even for me to have make such a drastic weight cut, I was still dedicated to the game for myself, obviously my own interest, and of course for the fans. In hindsight, I wish I stuck to my guns and just waited, because the bag of loot, the golden Lucky Charms or whatever at the end of the rainbow, I mean, don't get me wrong, I made good money, but it was...
Okay, dude, holy shit, this guy. Listen, it's, the entitlement is fucking insane to me. It's insane to me for him to want everybody to think the same way he does about all of these series of events, right? And then to be like, well, I'm not going to actually defend myself on, like, dude, this is so simple. I actually want to go back a few seconds. Cause...
before the belt, and then when I got the belt, I was probably one of the more active. Look at my resume, man. I've been one of the... ran with it all the way until the Jan, and I'm making shit up and acting. I said, okay, I'm going to run with it. I'm going to be the heel. I became the heel. I ran with it all the way until the Jan rematch. Had to get neck surgery. I was thinking...
Bro, this narrative that he's now trying to push, that he just decided he was going to play the heel, okay? This is bullshit. Also, you need to have way fucking thicker skin than Aljamain Sterling does to play that heel. Never once was he intentionally trying to piss off a crowd. Not that I can recall. He was... Dude, Aljamain Sterling honestly always looked upset that the fans did not like him. Always. He didn't like getting booed. He didn't like any of this shit. And I know this because Ray Longo talks on John Anik's podcast about how when they were wherever the fuck Merab fought last time, Aljamain Sterling was so surprised at the cheers that he got when he would get shown on camera and shit like that from the fans, okay? And he was pleasantly surprised by it. He did not play the heel, not intentionally anyways. And if he did the worst job humanly possible, okay? Because he couldn't even take the shit he was getting. You have to be able to take the shit, okay? If you were going to play the heel, especially in this sport, dude. Think about the shit that gets screamed at guys like Colby, the shit that gets screamed at guys like Chael, guys that actually play the heel. Imagine the shit, dude, where do we think Aljamain Sterling would be today if he took half the shit that Ian Gary took, okay? Holy Christ, Aljamain Sterling might not be on this planet anymore if he took the same amount of shit that Ian Gary took. Do you know what I mean? Who did lean in a little bit to the heel role, okay? Because that's what you should do. But you can't have thin skin like Aljamain Sterling. Now I'm going to jump ahead to the last little bit that I want to play, and then we will wrap this up.
Glass half full. I know people try to make it negative and try to point out all these things, but like, dude, what bothers you might not bother me as much. And I told you, I express how I feel, man. Like I said, I relived those emotions all over again watching that clip, and
back to the self-victimization. I had to relive those emotions. Watching back to the... Jesus Christ, dude. It's a fucking minute-long clip of a conversation that you were literally there for. Again, no traumatic experience whatsoever. And if you did experience trauma from that shit, then how in the world are you a professional fighter, quite honestly? But let's continue.
I could just put myself back in that situation and being in that room and feeling like, yeah, you're telling me no and I can sit out, but then you're also telling me, well, if you don't fight, then you don't fight for almost a year. And that's not cool either. So...
this is the detail I was talking about earlier. Now, earlier on, I asked you guys to pay attention to him saying I would just wait until January, February, March to compete again had I known the pay-per-view would not have been as good. Do you know what I mean? Then he goes on to say that Hunter Cambell told him you might have to wait almost a year before you fight if you don't take this fight with Sean O'Malley. And Aljamain Sterling saying, well, that's not very cool. Okay, what the fuck? You basically put me in a situation. This is the consequence that he is trying to, or this is at the very least the perceived consequence that he's talking about, which would actually make it possible coercion in the bitchest sense possible, okay? Aljamain Sterling said earlier, I would have waited till January, February, or March had I known the pay-per-view would be shit. Now he's upset that Hunter Cambell told him you might have had to wait a year, okay? Or almost a year, by the way. He fought Henry Cejudo at the beginning of May, okay? He fought Sean O'Malley about 15 weeks later in mid-ish August. I believe it was August 19th. After the Cejudo fight, if he had to wait almost a year, okay? What the fuck is March? Aljo, what is February? If not almost a year. We're talking 9, 10 months. That was the months you gave. But now you're acting because Hunter Cambell said almost a year. That's a problem. Basically, he's put a metaphorical gun to my head because I'll be out for a year. Like, my guy, listen, dude, I'm not fucking pocket watching, but you probably made more in that Henry Cejudo fight than most people in the United States would make in like a couple years, at least. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you were in a position where you had to fight within the next 9, 10 months. But also, you would have been fine because those were the months that you said. And I know that at the time Aljamain Sterling was like, I'm just asking for another month, basically, but that would have still not been ideal, right? For him, he said that. He said as much. But they already had main events for those pay-per-views. They already had those events booked and ready to go. They needed one for this one. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy to me that he is still, to this day, going on about this shit, still acting like a victim, and then the entitlement is what drives me the most crazy. You are not entitled to determine how the fans react to certain things, whether or not they like you, whether or not they like your opponent. You're not allowed to be upset at who's more marketable. Dude, do a better job. Like Dana White said, stop getting your own fucking way, dude. Stop talking about this shit publicly. I mean, you have every right to talk about it publicly. I don't give a shit. But you going and doing what you did immediately after the fight, okay? Saying, no, I don't think I can make that date. I'm injured. Oh, if my body holds up. That was a conversation that should have been had privately. And they probably would have made it right for you. And if not, allow the interim title to happen. And watch your pay-per-view numbers go up. Because there's a title unification bout. And they will have Sean O'Malley's last win as an extra highlight. Or if whoever fought him ended up beat. Like, do you know what I mean? It's wild to me. Wild. Either way, dude. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. This has been Aljamain Sterling being salty and injecting pure copium. Okay? I'll see you at the next video. Bye-bye.